Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein.
Saddam Hussein.
Danger. Continuing danger. Hour of danger. Very, very dangerous world.
Saddam Hussein, one of the most prominent leaders in the Middle East, he was the president of Iraq until his assassination, and when he knew that he was to be executed, he asked to be shot by a firing squad, but they refused, and instead he was hanged in Iraq. There is a town called Al-Qadniya where there is a joint military base for the United States of America and the Iran soldiers called Camp Justice, or in Arabic it's called Camp Al-Hadana. This is where Saddam Hussein was hanged on 30th December 2006. And so, how was the pursuit of Saddam Hussein and what went on to his capture? So where did Saddam Hussein play his cards wrong to the extent that he got into a conflict with America, the USA, once a great ally of Iraq and a great supporter for Saddam Hussein? What went wrong and why did they turn to become bitter enemies, leading to the death or execution of Saddam Hussein? And was Saddam Hussein a hero or was he a villain? Let me remind you that even Donald Trump himself, he once said that America should not have intervened in Iraq. USA had no business to destabilize Saddam Hussein's regime or to intervene in any way. Listen to what Donald Trump said himself.
We shouldn't have been there. We shouldn't have destabilized. Saddam Hussein was a bad guy, right? He was a bad guy, really bad guy. But you know what he did well? He killed terrorists. He did that so good. They didn't read him the rights. They didn't talk. They were a terrorist. It was over. Today, Iraq is Harvard for terrorism. You want to be a terrorist, you go to Iraq.
Today on the Legends and Milestones storyline, we'll talk about Saddam Hussein, his life, his reign, his downfall, his legacy and impact. My name is Des Maren and welcome. If you're new to our channel, remember to subscribe, give the video a thumbs up, share your opinions in the comment section, and don't forget to share the video. Saddam Hussein Abd al-Mahdi al-Tikriti. He was an Iraqi politician who served as the president of Iraq from 1979 until 2003. He is best known for his authoritarian rule, which led him to being titled a dictator, his involvement in multiple conflicts, and his eventual downfall following the US-led invasion of Iraq, which was called Operation Desert Storm. He was executed in 2006 after being convicted of crimes against humanity. So now, let me give you the story of Saddam Hussein and let us go deep into his life up to when he got involved in a conflict with the USA, leading to the creation of Operation Desert Storm and his eventual downfall. Born on April 28, 1937 in Al-Waqja near Tikrit, Iraq. He was born into a poor family. Saddam Hussein's father died of cancer when he was born, and his mother remarried when Saddam Hussein was 3 years old. Saddam had a troubled childhood and he was raised largely by his maternal uncle Khairallah Talfa, who was a strong Arab nationalist and had significant influence on Saddam Hussein's political views. Saddam Hussein moved to Baghdad as a teenager and lived with his uncle in Hailara, Takfa. His uncle had been in prison as a political convict. Saddam stayed with his uncle because his stepfather was very ruthless. Briefly, he studied law. His uncle taught him about how to become involved in politics. As a youth, Saddam Hussein tried to enlist in the army, but unfortunately, he failed to pass the test of enlisting in the army. Ba'ath Party membership in 1957. At the age of 20, Saddam Hussein joined the Ba'ath Party, which promoted Arab nationalism and socialism. The party aimed to unite Arab countries under a single socialist state. On 7th October 1959, Saddam Hussein was involved in an unsuccessful assassination attempt against the Iraqi Prime Minister Abdul Karim Qasim, who had taken power through a military coup. After the failed attempt, Saddam Hussein fled while on a donkey to Syria and later fled to Egypt, where he studied law. In 1963, the Ba'ath Party briefly came into power in Iraq, but it was overthrown. Saddam Hussein returned to Iraq the following year, where he began consolidating his position within the party. Saddam Hussein was arrested and sent to prison as a political convict. He was jailed for 3 years and tortured in prison, and in 1976, he escaped from prison. In 1968, the Ba'ath power successfully took control over Iraq in a coup, with Ahmed Hassan al-Bakr becoming the president and Saddam Hussein becoming the vice president. For the next decade, Saddam Hussein systematically gained more power and more influence, becoming the de facto leader of Iraq. Saddam Hussein made efforts to ensure fairness and improving standards of living in Iraq, making plans to improve the country's economy. He also made all private oil mining companies in Iraq to become state-owned. Due to this, Iraq got a lot of profits from oil sales. Saddam Hussein provided free education for all children in Iraq and free healthcare to citizens. The price of oil in the international market at this time was actually very good and very stable and enabled Iraq to gain a lot of money. Due to this and other reform, some people look at Saddam Hussein as a hero who cared for his citizens, as he gave them free education, free healthcare. He built infrastructure within the country, and the standards of living also increased, and the cost of living. But also, all that is good also has its own shortcomings. Due to the increase in wealth, Saddam Hussein's government decided to make chemical weapons, and a lot of money was also invested in the military, buying more equipments, recruiting more soldiers, and modernizing the army. Saddam Hussein gave subsidies to all farmers in Iraq to ensure the great economy deals with trade, agriculture, and not just depending on oil as international market prices on oil often increase and decrease. In 1979, Saddam Hussein forced al-Bakr to resign, and Saddam became the president of Iraq, initiating a ruthless campaign to eliminate political rivals and consolidate his power. Saddam Hussein's rule was marked by a mix of internal repression, military conflicts, and efforts to position Iraq as a major regional power. Saddam ruled Iraq as a dictator, using the Ba'ath Party, the Republican Guard, and a vast network of secret police to suppress any dissent, and any political opposition were violently crushed, with mass executions, torture, and imprisonment of dissents being common. Saddam Hussein built a cult of personality around himself, portraying himself as a strong Arab leader and a defender of Iraq and to the broader Arab world. Saddam Hussein's government also invested heavily in infrastructure, education, healthcare, and industrial development, benefiting from Iraq's vast oil wealth. The Iran-Iraq War of 1980 to 1988. Saddam Hussein invaded Iran in 1980, hoping to capitalize on the chaos following the Iranian Revolution to assert Iraq's dominance in the region. The war lasted for 8 years, leading to a stalemate and devastating both countries. Iraq used chemical weapons against Iranian forces and civilians. The war resulted in hundreds of thousands of deaths, widespread destruction, but Saddam Hussein remained in power. At this time, the West were greatly supporting Saddam Hussein. Due to these times, tension between Iran and the West was increasing, so the West decided to support Saddam Hussein into Iraq. Al-Anfal campaign against the Kurdish genocide of 1986 to 1989. Saddam Hussein's regime conducted a brutal campaign against the Kurdish population in northern Iraq, whom he viewed as a threat due to their separatist tendencies and alleged cooperation with Iran during the Iran-Iraq War. The campaign, known as Al-Anfal, included mass execution, destruction of villages, usage of chemical weapons, most notably in Halabja in 1988. Tens of thousands of Kurds were killed in the process. The invasion of Kuwait and the Gulf War of 1990-1991. On August 1990, Saddam Hussein's forces invaded Kuwait, accusing it of overproducing oil and stealing Iraqi oil through slant drilling. He also viewed Kuwait as a historic part of Iraq. The invasion was met with international condemnation, and a US coalition launched Operation Desert Storm in 1991 in order to liberate Kuwait. Iraq was swiftly defeated and Saddam Hussein forced to withdraw from Kuwait. The war severely weakened Iraq, but Saddam Hussein still remained in power. After the Gulf War, Saddam Hussein suppressed uprisings by Shiites in the south and Kurds in the north, killing tens of thousands. The USA and its allies established non-fly zones to protect these populations from further attacks. Following the Gulf War, Iraq was subjected to crippling UN sanctions, which led to severe economic hardships. These sanctions were intended to pressure Saddam Hussein to disarm and comply with the United Nations resolution, particularly regarding weapons of mass destruction. In 1996, the Oil for Food program was established to allow Iraq to sell oil in exchange of food and medical supplies, but corruption within Saddam Hussein's regime limited its effectiveness. The USA and its allies, particularly the administration of President George W. Bush, accused Saddam Hussein of possessing weapons of mass destruction and having ties to terrorism, particularly the Al-Qaeda. Although these claims were later disproven as they were false, and George W. Bush and his government only wanted to kill Saddam Hussein and destabilize Iraq. On March 20, 2003, the USA and a coalition of allies launched a military invasion of Iraq known as Operation Iraqi Freedom. Within weeks, Baghdad fell. On April 9, 2003, Saddam Hussein's regime collapsed and he fled and went into hiding. On December 13, 2003, Saddam Hussein was captured by US Air Forces near Tikrit, hiding in a small underground hole, often referred to as a spider hole. Saddam Hussein was put on trial by the Iraqi Special Tribunal for crimes against humanity, specifically for his role in Dujail massacre in 1982, where 148 Shiites were executed in retaliation for an assassination attempt on Saddam Hussein. And on 5th of November 2006, Saddam Hussein was found guilty of crimes against humanity and sentenced to death by hanging. Saddam Hussein was executed on December 30th, 2006 in Baghdad on the first day of Islamic holiday of Eid al-Adha. The execution was carried out by hanging, and videos of execution were later leaked showing Saddam remaining defiant until his death, and before his death, Saddam Hussein only asked for drinking water and a comb in order to comb his hair, because he was a very clean gentleman. The legacy and impact of Saddam Hussein. Saddam Hussein's rule left a deep legacy of fear, repression, and sectarian tensions in Iraq. His actions, including the wars and internal crackdowns, caused immense suffering and regional instability. Post-invasion and chaos. After Saddam Hussein's removal of Iraq descended into sectarian violence with insurgents, civil war, and eventual rise of ISIS in the power vacuum created by the collapse of his regime. The 2003 invasion, the decision to remove Saddam Hussein, remains controversial, especially given the lack of the weapons of mass destruction and the subsequent instability of Iraq. Saddam Hussein was a ruthless leader who ruled Iran with an iron fist for over 2 decades. His reign, marked by repression, wars, and atrocities, his eventual execution brought an end to one of the harshest regimes in modern history, but it left Iraq in a fragile and divided state that continues to deal with the consequences of his rule and the invasion that removed him from power. And just before I conclude, let me remind you, the invasion of Iraq by America was not done in order to help citizens of Iraq. Furthermore, Americans do not care whether you are ruled by a dictator or democracy. The only intentions America had was to ensure that Saddam Hussein was no longer in power and that Iraq forever remained in a state of war, chaos, confusion, and ensuring that Iraq will never again rise. The invasion, also US intervention in Libya, which removed Muammar Gaddafi from power, was not done in order to promote democracy in Libya. No. The NATO-led invasion of Libya in 2011 was done to ensure that Muammar Gaddafi will not unite Africans. Since the time Gaddafi was killed, Libya has been in a state of civil war with zero progress. In fact, Libya went very many steps behind where Gaddafi had left it, just like what happened in Iraq, Syria, Libya. Every country that United States of America touches, they do not come there to bring democracy. No one cares about your rule. No one cares about your dictator or your leader. They come there to destabilize and cause chaos. And ladies and gentlemen, that is the sad story of Saddam Hussein. Let me know in the comment section, what are your views on Saddam Hussein? Was he a hero or was he a villain. Thank you very much for watching, and if you are new to our channel, kindly remember to subscribe, like the video, turn on the notification bell, share your opinions in the comment section. My name is Des Maren. Goodbye.